Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Lads It's Tottenham. While I turn the music off, just look, sorry about the technical issues, but it's just, I don't know what to do. A real bad weekend for me at football, losing at home to Aston Villa, married into a family of Villa fans. It's really done my head in. So I'm sorry about that, folks. But hopefully to add a little bit more professionalism to the show. With me as always is Dave. Dave, how are you?
I'm here with the professionalism.
And
that's it.
On his first time on our show tonight from the Cheeseroom, Franco. Hopefully, mate, you can sort of make this show a little bit more coherent and add a little bit of class to mine and Dave's well, as you can see, mate, we're leaving the music on early doors. But thanks for coming on, mate. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Good morning, Dave. Good evening, Gibbo, and hello to our millions of watchers. Yeah, the thing with the pod is that you can edit it. So all of the nonsense that we talk, you don't get to hear on the Cheeseroom. So tonight you're going to hear unfiltered. So there will be some nonsense. So this professional image you've got is all about the editing.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
There's always nonsense on here, but obviously, as it's your first time, Franco, can you just tell me and Dave, and obviously the three viewers who are watching live, and hopefully a few more who will be watching after, when was your first Spurs game, mate?
So there's a bit of it's been sort of lost in the years, but it was either 1986 or 1987. The reason I don't know is because I used to go to Norwich. If people don't know, I'm from those neck of the woods, and we played Norwich in 86 and 87, and I would have gone to them, one of them or both of them. But I remember Nico Klaassen scored, and he scored in both games, and we lost both of them 2-1. So that was around that time. The first home game wasn't probably, I don't think it was till 1996. And that was another great game against Derby, who was my dad's side. He took me to see Derby at the start of the season. And we drew 1-1, and they scored a 90th minute. Christian Daly, I think it was, scored, just drifted in at the back post, dropped in, and I was right there. So yeah, that was a great experience as well.
But yeah, I mean, mate, Spurs, ain't it? And the other thing is, obviously, you've just told us the first three games you went to were 3 losses. And the other question we ask people when they first come on is when was the first time Spurs made you grumpy? But
this is it. So a lot of my friends, obviously Norwich fans, and at that point, I knew the Norwich team really well. And but I must have decided at some point around then, my dad started taking to all the Norwich games. And I remember at that point thinking Tottenham are my team. And then we didn't beat Norwich for about 4 years. I think every time I went, Norwich won. And so that was quite disappointing. But the most recent I've been grumpy is when I went yesterday, and I was a bit hungry. I could eat one of those pies. And I feel like when the stadium opened just a few years ago, they were like £3.50. £6 you want now just for their pie, and they're not that great. So that was my most recent grumpiness, price inflation of pies.
I was going to say, saying when was the first time you were grumpy or the last time, it's segueing into yesterday's game. I mean, terrible, disappointing result, really. Poor game of football, in my opinion. But let's start. You, Dave, slides, please.
Slides, Lino, here we go. Here we go.
So, lads,
here's the team.
We'll go to Dave first and then go on to Franco. Starting 11, Dave. What's your opinion on that?
My opinion is I do not want to see Paulinho and Bentancur at home in a double pivot ever again. And the last time I said that was when they played in a double pivot at home. And I said I don't want to see it ever again.
And not just because everybody's saying that at the minute. You're making your own opinion on that, are you?
Are you saying I'm just a bandwagon jumper?
No, Dave. No, carry on, please. Sorry, I shouldn't have.
Anyway, so I watched the game without knowing the score early yesterday morning. So in commentary, they said that they then alluded to the fact that obviously Romero hurt himself in the warm-up and Tiny Dancer played. And then a doggie's injured again.
Apparently, Romero was carrying the knot for a couple of days. I saw earlier.
Yeah, couldn't shake it.
No. Franco, what's your opinion on the starting 11 when you first saw it, mate?
Similar concerns about the midfield, and we made the point on the pod yesterday that the start of the season, Sarr was our best player, and obviously he's a midfielder, and Bergval's looked good, but it seems like they've sort of sacrificed necessarily our informed players in order to play this cautious midfield approach.
Yeah.
Paulinho, you can't argue with. Again, he made like 9 tackles yesterday. You watch him, he's always he's always getting there, and it wasn't like Villa posed much of a threat going forward. Apart from those 2 goals, like their XG was really low. They didn't have many shots, and I mentioned they didn't really get in behind us too much. When they did, Van der Ven, handled it. Even Danso, Ireland at one point. Like defensively, we were quite solid, I thought. But Bentancur, when you look at his pass map yesterday, all sideways, anything progressive going forward, just didn't make it. And so you think in those games, you either need somebody that's going to get around the pitch in Sarr, or you need someone in Bergval who's. It's difficult because Bergval's not miles better passer than Bentancur. Bentancur on his day is good, but it's just I don't think he has the same mindset of getting forward. And when you've got 2 defensive players, you just don't need them against. You didn't need them yesterday against Villa. And I don't necessarily think it's a home away thing. I think it's just against the type of team that you're playing. I think yesterday we needed to be a bit more positive, and whether we played Sarr to be a bit more mobile and get around there, or we played Bergval to maybe play a few more of those passes going forward, I think it would have been a better idea. As for the striking, I mean, Odegaard and Tell, Odegaard's been given chances, and when you contrast him to Johnson, at least he's trying to take his man on, even if it, with it, nothing was much.
He was good for him yesterday. I thought he
was good for him. Hang on a minute. Are you saying he was good for him?
From what I expect from him, or the type of player I think he is, and he arguably had one of his better games for Tottenham yesterday. I know it's not. I mean, we said this was said in our chat group, but it's not a high bar. But I did think he had, but he wasn't too bad.
No, I mean the thing is, what he needs to do. He had that one where he cut inside and then had the shot, which the goalkeeper spilled. And obviously, if somebody had been in there to follow it up, that's an opportunity. But he needs to do more of that. I'm quite happy for him to cut inside, have shots, as long as he tests the keeper and it creates a bit of an issue for them, then that's fine. But it's just the ones where we get this a lot from our players, where they refuse to shoot, or they're always looking for a better opportunity. And I thought Xavi did that a lot yesterday as well. He sort of had opportunities to shape a shot on goal, and instead he tried to take on another man or passed it across. And Kudus, again, does loads of good work, but a few good crosses yesterday. I think obviously one of them ended up in the first goal, but you can't just rely on one man. And that's what we seem to be doing at the moment, is just relying on him to do everything in the attacking third. Until, not a great game from him. So it was the lineup is what it is. I know we've got Champions League in midweek, and he's sort of got an eye on that. But this was sort of a concern about Frank, is that he's never been in this situation where he's had to manage this many games in a week, and he's having to get used to rotating, and he's doing it probably more than Ange did. But whether it's more effective or not is probably the question, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, Dave, what you think, but there's certain players that don't get a rest, isn't there? And I think they are like Kudus doesn't get a rest. Paulina did for a bit, but he won't now, because I think he's arguably one of the first names on the team sheet. Romero doesn't if he's fit. Van der Ven doesn't if he's fit. Porro doesn't really. And I think if Udog is fit, I think the back four picks itself in the keeper. I think the rest keep getting rotated because they're fucking bang average, basically. And not sure, who plays where and trying to give someone a chance. I think that's why, obviously, because of the games we've got, but obviously I think partly it's because of that, because nobody can really nail down a place.
Well, before we get into it and on the team, what's happened to Pat Matasar? I mean, I thought in the European Super Cup final and in the pre-seasons and the very beginning of the season, where he was kind of using him as a 10, he was probably playing his best football for the club in a long time. Yeah, and he's just disappeared from view.
He did pick up an injury.
About that?
Yeah, didn't he get injured in the collision with Kolo Muani?
He picked up a knock, and then I think he was rested in another game. But this is it. I don't know why he wouldn't have started yesterday. It is strange. I made the point. It was his best. He was the best player at the club at the start of the season and in pre-season. So it just seems like that's what Frank how he likes to set up. He's quite a cautious manager. And again, when you go from the season that we had last year, where we were just quite easy to cut through, maybe that's his first thought. His thought is, right, if I'm rebuilding this, I'm going to start off with the basics of making us more difficult to play through. But the question is, like, isn't Palhinha enough? Do you need that? And do you need, another defensive minded or someone that's not going to contribute enough to the forward play, because it's getting it through the midfield. On the pod yesterday, Seb made the point, it's just like we didn't play through the midfield at all. It was all just like bang it out wide and hope something happens. And I think you need someone in there. You need to get control of it. And I think Bergvall would have been better in there yesterday.
Yeah, because Franco and Dave, I don't know, like, as I was watching the game yesterday, I was sat next to my son and I sort of said to him, what they did a little bit, which we never, and obviously they got a couple of shots away in those areas. People like Buendia, when he came on, and McGinn, even John McGinn, they were just picking the ball up in little pockets of space. They were managing to get in those little bits of space and getting on the ball, but we couldn't do that. And I think that is partly, on obviously instruction and basically, like you say, the passing range of the two midfielders. But I think the forward players have got to do a little bit more to get on the ball and make that happen as well. Yeah. I look at it and I know it's not exactly the same, but when we had a good team under Pochettino, the midfield two were Dembele and Dyer, or Dembele and Wanyama. Now, and there's not a lot of creativity or creative passing in those two. It's just the guys in front were a different level to the players we've got in there now.
Yeah, and that's what Xavi needs. He needs to be the Eriksen, doesn't he? Because Eriksen was always asking for the ball, and when he passed it off, he'd trot over towards it to be there as another option. And Xavi yesterday did the cardinal sin of always standing next to his marker. It's like Onana had quite an easy day because he's like twice the height of Xavi as it is, and in an absolute unit. But he didn't have to go anywhere to mark him because Xavi was just there. I just feel like he didn't do enough. And then when he drifts over to the left, I don't know whether nothing he did out there was that effective. So we need someone in there. And obviously the loss of Maddison, as much as not everyone liked him that much, but he is the sort of player that wants the ball and wants to make things happen. And I think Xavi, he's 22 years old. You've got to give him a little bit of time, but I think we're expecting a lot more from him than probably what he's delivered so far.
He's overhyped, apparently. He's overhyped, according to Gibbo.
Now, I've called him out as being overhyped. And as I've said, that doesn't mean I'm saying he's a bad player, but I just think he has been built up to a level which I don't think he is. Obviously, I think he will be a good player for Spurs, and he's going to play more matches, and hopefully, I look at him at the minute, he don't even look like he's enjoying playing for Tottenham. He looks miserable. But I think he'll be a good player. And I agree with you, Franco. Like, I was looking at, with the Maddison injury, a player that we could get someone in who would sort of like go past or be better than Maddison. I don't think he's going to be.
Well, this is the other issue, is that we're always looking for value in the market, and I know it costs a lot of money, but we probably think, well, he's 22, he's probably still going to be worth quite a bit of money even if he's not successful, and we can get rid of him. And I think that's our transfer strategy always tends to get us in these situations. But
under our previous owners, Franco, but we have new owners now.
Oh yes, so I forgot.
It's a new era.
I forgot. It'll all be different from now on. Yeah. But yeah, he's not the first player, let's be honest, Gibbo, that's been overhyped. We overhype every single player we ever purchase because we get excited about it. And he's clearly a good player. He's clearly got some pedigree, but it's maybe going to take him a little bit of time to settle in. And it goes back to that Sarr point, is that, again, you're sacrificing Sarr or somebody else playing in that position because you want to get Xavi integrated into the team as quickly as possible. The same way he wants to get Odegaard minutes because he's young and he wants to give him some game time. The same way that Tell, he scored in the previous game and he wants to give him some minutes as well and see what he's like. So it's sort of like the start of this season is almost not a write-off, but it's going to be a time when we're probably not playing our strongest team all the time and we're not trying to go out there and be the best we can every game. I feel like already the rotation is sort of affecting the way that we're lining up.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the thing is about Maddison is that, and you always get this with players who are injured or absent, they get even better when they're absent. Everyone goes, isn't he amazing? He's brilliant. And Maddison Let's not forget about Maddison. That we were when we hit the release clause for Morgan Gibbs White, and we paraded him around the ground in the Spurs shirt. He was going to play along with. He was going to rotate with Maddison. This is before Maddison's injury. Yeah. And even, and I'm not being Mr. Hindsight here, I was like saying, well, you could get Grealish in. There we go, trumpet. You could get Grealish in on loan and rotate with Maddison because they're both going to be periods of time injured and things like that, right? So it was competition for Maddison's place, which was Morgan Gibbs White. And Morgan Gibbs White would be the starter, right? But now everyone's talking about how we're missing Maddison a lot. I mean, Maddison's level really was the Europa quarterfinals, first leg semi, where he made a big difference. He disappears a lot in games. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I called him a 1/3 season player.
He does, but when he has good games, he plays that role pretty well. Do you know what I mean? He's looking to get forward. He plays passes into the channels quite well, and even when he's around the box, he's sometimes got a nice pass. I agree. Like he's not a complete player by any stretch. But he also seems to understand the game quite well. And, you know, he's quite vocal on the pitch. Whether he's telling the players complete nonsense or not, you don't know. But he's quite vocal on there. And you need that. We've got a young team in many respects. And in that attacking lineup yesterday, I mean, Kudus has only been here a couple of minutes. And then the other three are all really young. So, and then you're basically hoping that people like Bergvall, who's even younger, are going to come in and take the game by the scruff of the neck. So it's like, we do have to appreciate this group of players is quite young and inexperienced, even if there is potential in there. But I agree. The other thing I'd say about Morgan Gibbs White very quickly is that I would have thought he could play anywhere in that midfield because he played defensively midfielder for Forest last season. Did he play deeper? What's that? Yeah.
When Maddison played well last season, Tottenham played well. Yeah, and also like I've talked about Simmons, but the same thing with like Maddison. I don't think Maddison was it. I mean, he was good at times for Spurs, but I don't think he was as good for Spurs as I thought he was going to be. He's not. He wasn't the player that. Because I'd only, I'd obviously watch more of someone like Maddison because he plays in his country. I don't really watch any other football, but he still wasn't the player that I thought we were getting from Leicester. I thought there'd be more from him, but there wasn't. But like one thing, you are right. I think he'd go looking for the ball more, and he'd try and make things happen, and he'd try and direct the play more, which I think is what you want from someone in that role, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes he'd be weak in games. He would get pushed off the ball, etc. And if they put two men on him, then he would really struggle. I agree. Like he's not that class, but he plays that role well. As a question, I don't know if you know this. Has he scored a free kick for us? I watched that video of his injury the other week, and he was showing the list of like the top 10 free kick scorers in the Premier League.
Villa last season.
The Villa last season. Okay, so he scored one for us because he's on that top 10 list of free kick scorers. I was thinking, it's not like I remember him banging in too many goals for us from distance. But all right, Villa.
He scored against Villa. He just sort of think we were 3-0 or 3-1 up.
Yeah.
He just curled it in the corner, didn't he?
Yeah.
Stat padding, isn't he, Dave? Stat padding against a deflated goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I know a lot of people say, I know people are saying about this two in midfield. I think maybe a bit of instruction or getting Bentancur to play a little higher up the pitch or whatever, or used to drive with the ball a little bit more before his injuries, obviously. But as well, I think a big problem is like I look at it and I think, well, if you've got that solid base there and your front four in front are at it and they're decent players, I don't think that matters as much. I know you still got to get them the ball, but I think we have issues in an attacking sense. And I think that might, I don't want to like really get into Frank yet, but I think that might be part of how we set up or whatever. But I think personnel wise, you're saying, we use Kudus a hell of a lot. It's a one-man attack, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like the centre forward struggling. We are I thought when Villa bought on Ollie Watkins yesterday, even though he hadn't been fit, they didn't really have anyone on before. But when they brought him on, it showed to me the difference between having a decent centre forward because he got hold of the ball a little bit more. He got behind as well. He ran behind our centre backs and on our full backs, and he brought others into play. And I looked at him and I thought, he's come on and he's sort of added to them. Yeah, we've had Tal who's really struggled, and then we've brought Richarlison on and done.
No, we
pretty much the
brought
same
on
as
the
Tal, and
double
I think it's a
snubs.
big problem.
We brought on Richarlison and Johnson at the same time, and that struck fear in Aston Villa's fans' hearts all around the world.
Yeah.
You know, here they come. Here comes Johnson and Richarlison. We're going to shit ourselves. Just to point about being a young team and things like that. John McGinn, Villa's captain, right?
Yeah.
I think you would both agree that he is a complete pain in the arse. He gets in the referee's ear the whole time, and he's very.
I like him.
We don't have that. We don't have that, right?
No.
And I hate to say it, and I don't wish to sound like Nigel Farage, but when your captain hasn't learned to speak English really that well in 4.5 years he's been here, how is he going to be relied upon to get into the referee's ear and be a complete pain in the arse, right? I mean, Van der Ven was the captain yesterday. I think he did all right. He's quite vocal, but he's quite young. But we just lack it. I mean, I said that we needed to get a number 6, and we needed to get a bastard who could be the leader and the club captain, right? And that's now Paulinho, really. But is he so much of a leader?
Is that what you prefer?
Shoulders. He was head and shoulders the best.
A midfield general. Is that what you like to be your captain, Dave? Because I kind of agree. I love
I love a midfield general as a captain.
Back in the 80s, every good team had a jock in the side, didn't they?
Correct.
Hey?
Stevie Perry.
I agree with you boys.
Stevie Perry was a bastard.
I'm very much in like the Roy Keane type camp. That type of guy. Scores, gets stuck in. Like when I speak to my son now about midfielders, he's like, "Oh, what was he like, Dad?" And I'm like, "Mate, back then you didn't used to have your cams like you do or your DMs." I said like good midfielders did it all, because he was asking me about Gascoigne, and he was like, "What was he? An attacking?" I said, "Mate, he was everything, skillful, but he could do it all." I said Brian Robson and your Roy Keanes and Paul Inces and people like Vieiras at the time, they just played in a 2, and they got around the pitch and did everything. Yeah, but that's what I think. I do think we are missing that, like a real. I think a game's won and lost in midfield. I know that's very old-fashioned, but that's what I'm like. And I think you need someone in there who's just going to always control. Like you could have your Polina smashing up people, which he's brilliant at, and then I think then the bloke next to him, you need to have that one who can do a bit of everything. Like you said, even a John McGinn. Ruffle a few feathers, get up and down, weigh in with a goal. Yes. When the chips are down, gets on the ball and tries and drives people on. And I think you're right, Dave. I don't think we've got that anywhere on the pitch.
Or in the club. We need a bastard.
Well, yeah, Romero is, but you're right. You know, language issues aside, he definitely is. You're right. The midfield isn't really apart from that. I don't know. Polina seems like quite a nice guy, even if he is, loves a slide tackle. But if he'd have been here maybe 3 years ago, he'd probably be club captain by now, wouldn't he? And be doing that. So.
Yeah, I'd say so.
He was fantastic yesterday.
It was good.
Villa's first goal, Vicario's positioning. Thoughts?
I think it's a bit harsh to dig him out for it. I mean, his positioning, he could have been stood right in front of the ball. That would have been great. But from a keeper's point of view, probably would have saved it then. But no, I'm not I'm not going to beat him up about it. It was just a really well hit strike. When there's one of those ones where in the ground, just as he was queuing up for it, I just thought, shit, this is a goal, even before he'd hit it. And then as soon as he hit it, it was like, yeah, that's a rocket. It's difficult because I feel like he's getting a bit of a tough time with it, and probably justified as well for Vicario. He's not been that great so far this season. And I think the issue is when the going gets tough, it's not like he goes, right, I'm going to step up. He just seems to get a bit more manic and a bit more worried and a bit more, it puts a bit more stress on the defense during games, etc.
Create chaos.
Yeah, a little bit. But we just need to see this period through, because we're not going to get another goalkeeper until the end of the season if we do, are we? And I guess the argument is whether Kinski steps up instead. Kinski will probably get cup games, I guess, this season, so that's his chance to prove that he deserves it. So
I was listening to something last night on the way home. I can't remember what it was now, and they were talking. Apparently, there's talk that Kinski, people around the club, aren't that impressed with his attitude and how much he's progressed and stuff. wish I could remember what it was on now, but I can't. Yeah, but like, yeah, I think if you're being brutally honest, for where we are at the minute, I don't think he's an issue. But I think with Vicario, if you do want to reach that, be that top 4 team, be in that top 4, then I think you need better. I think you need calmer. I think you need better distribution.
Yeah,
just an all-round better keeper. But I think for where we are at the minute and where I think we'll probably finish for this season, like you said, Franco, I think he's probably about that sort of level, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pulls off the odd good save.
But this is kind of, studies make a good point. It's like that is the basic minimum you expect from a goalkeeper. And it's that, the fact that his kicking isn't great, not great on corners, is he? I mean, I know he punched one out yesterday, which I credit him with a save because I was so surprised by it. But he just needs to improve different aspects of his game. And you do think you can probably get a more well-rounded goalkeeper. And they always say that goalkeepers are all a little bit crazy, but they're not maybe quite so outwardly, obviously crazy as Vicario. I think that's the thing. So it's just like, when you see a close up,
26, he's 28 or something now, isn't he?
He's a spring chicken for a goalkeeper. But you know what I mean? When there's a corner or something and they do a close up, he's just made a save and you see a close up, his eyes are just darting around the place and he's like super hyped up. You just think, no, come on, mate, you need to be a bit more calmer in this situation.
29 years. But I just see him as our version of Aaron Ramsdale. We're just waiting for trying to find someone better. Like he's
what you mean, Raya, who we could have bought, instead we bought Vicario. You mean that one?
Yeah, exactly.
We'd agreed to deal, and we'd agreed to was it or whatever it was. We just did not decide to go ahead.
But we're talking about Morgan Rogers, like the goal. Yeah, Vicario maybe could have done better, but he's a decent player, isn't he? He found himself in some space. I don't think he's been really good this season for Villa. He's built up a little bit of a head of steam now playing for England, and he got the shot away. Like I said before, we don't tend to take shots from that area. And
Xavi Simons didn't yesterday. He wouldn't take a shot all day. I mean, what was that about?
No, I know. And that is the frustration. Again, we've said it in previous seasons that there's games where you just need to shoot. You're not going to score goals unless you get the shots off. And
especially teams that sit back, Franco, like you said, when teams sit deep.
Yeah.
I always used to say this, and they said, "Oh, they're hard to break down." And I'm like, "Well, pepper their goal then. Pepper their goal with shots. Get shots away." Yeah. These players practice shooting all the time. It's they worried about. I think nowadays there's a thing about they're worried about. It's like crossing, isn't it? If it's a less percentage, you could you'll give possession away or whatever. But you're thinking if teams are sitting back and you're sort of at them, just pepper their goal. But I just felt that yesterday we could have won that just as much as Villa could have. Yeah. They were just decided to have a couple of strikes from outside. I mean, the second goal was a decent goal as well. But if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the lottery, do you? So
no, exactly.
And they did.
Yeah, and they hadn't really up to that point. It was just one of those games where they took their chances and they were good shot. I mean, what was their XG? It was like 0.33. Cheers, John. It was just one of those games, and it felt like a draw all over it. I don't think really either team did enough to win it, but in the end of the day, if you're going to hit a strike like that, and Digne bringing the ball down like that with his left foot over the top and then flicking it perfectly to Buendia, who then puts it, right in the bottom corner. It just felt like a real sucker punch at that point. And I think the frustration was, what minute did they score? Was it? It felt like
got to be late 70s, was it?
Let me have a look. It was the It was the 77th minute. So we had 7 minutes of extra time as well. So that's doing the maths. 20 minutes we had to get back into that. And we really didn't, did we? There was a few balls down the wing to Kudus to break free, and he just made the wrong choice. Mawani was running very hard, but had about one touch of the ball.
Porro had that charge.
Porro had a charge.
And Porro's decent on the ball.
Yeah.
And then he just put it straight into Martinez, didn't he? Decision making and the quality at the sort of
Johnson's shots as well at the end.
Yeah. That nearly hit me
over the bar.
Of the south stand.
Yeah,
I
Johnson
mean,
mucked that one
there's
up.
been a lot of talk about the atmosphere and the lack of atmosphere in the crowd. We need to make it a fortress. Now, you two were at the stadium yesterday, so surely you two should take some of the blame for the lack of atmosphere.
Well,
I
I don't know. Franco goes more that Franco is obviously a season ticket holder. I don't go anywhere.
I'm
near
just talking about yesterday, Gibbo.
But I've always thought, not just at this point. I think it works both ways. I think sometimes the crowd have to raise the players, but I think there are points where the team have to try and get the fans going as well. And I think if you remember back to when we were at White Hart Lane that last season, maybe the season before as well, I don't know. I think the atmosphere was obviously there were times like I harp back on about White Hart Lane, and there were times where the atmosphere was dreadful there. But I think when we were playing well at White Hart Lane, especially the last season, I think the atmosphere was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was still infinitely better than it is at the moment. And there are problems with the size of the stadium. In that single south stand tier, you can hear songs starting over there. And by the time they get to my side, they're out of sync. Do you know what I mean? And it makes it really difficult. In the south stand of Old White Hart Lane, a song started in, it was almost just immediate. Everybody was in chorus together. Yeah, also made the point is like where the away fans were sat at White Hart Lane in that corner right next to the south stand. So there was always much more to and fro. You know, at the current stadium, it's still the sort of family's end at the other end, isn't it? The Paxton, and then you've got all of their fans there. So it's like you're sort of like that to and fro.
Caller sits there, doesn't he?
Well, when he goes, when he goes 2 or 3 times a year, But but yeah, it's a long way. So you don't get that banter as well. And I recently did like an evening with the Trust with some other podcasters, and they asked.
We know you've gone up in the world. We saw that.
I know. I like to humble brag about it quite a bit. I'm a big deal these days.
But why weren't you wearing a black leather jacket on the night though? That's what I want to know.
It was like the sax bomb.
It was at the dry cleaners, unfortunately. But they asked the question then, and part of it is like the atmosphere. A lot of the chants were quite negative towards the opposition players and fans, weren't they? And that seems
which is good.
Yeah, but that seems to not be acceptable. Seems to not be acceptable in a football environment these days, which is fair enough. And I said, it's like, is that just the way that society's gone? But it probably detracts a little bit away from the atmosphere, because there's, if you're going to make something a fortress, people are not going to be intimidated by you singing "Glory, Glory, Tottenham Hotspur." But if you're constantly whistling, or I can't smile about it, but if you're constantly whistling, booing, berating players, calling them names, which might be hurtful, then that's how you create a hostile atmosphere, unfortunately. But it's like, that's not going to be a popular opinion in 2025, is it? But that's what's missing from football these days, I think.
But hang on,
football
ground.
Needle.
Hang on a second. A football ground is not a place of work. There's not an HR department at a football ground, all right? Now, I'm not saying for any minute whatsoever that people need to be racist, sexist, all that lot. But you go to a football ground to vent from the week that you've had, and then you give the opposite fans a bit of banter, not bants. I don't use that word, right? Okay, but it doesn't happen anymore. I mean, I think it's just gone a bit too, and I hate to use the word woke, or maybe it's just a generational thing. But that's the whole point that's the whole thing of going to a football match, particularly in England, is that you get a good to and fro between supporters. That's what it's about. And now it's just, I think, there's a trumpet player still there.
Yeah,
but he's still there.
At that point, the crowd are singing. At that point, Dave, I know
because of the trumpet
a little bit
player.
Of jest. Well, yeah, basically. But obviously they were yesterday. But I sort of this on a slight. I think it's somewhere what you're saying about all those things. I think it's a little bit of everything of that. But I've got another sort of take on, slightly different on the home form. That I think, obviously, our home form is horrendous, isn't it? What is it? 3 wins in 18 home games, something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've not been there for that, and we're talking about the atmosphere. But I go back. I always say that, like I said, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I sort of look at it like winning's a habit, and so is losing. And last year, I said when we had all these people who were saying, "Oh, it's okay to lose these football matches, or it's not a problem losing these football matches because we need to win the Europa League. And I'm like, absolute nonsense. We don't need to be this bad. There's absolutely no reason why we need to be this bad to try and win the Europa League. And then we sort of batted it off when we did win it. It was worth it being as crap as we were and stuff like that. And I look at it now and I think that is sort of continuing at home. You know, we've got a little bit better in the league and I think we're doing all right at the minute. But I think that sort of attitude from last year, by losing those games, you sort of get in that habit. Like, we didn't do anything yesterday. We didn't do enough to win the game. We didn't do enough to win the game against Wolves. And I just think, you know, obviously it's not as simple as that. But I think you do just get into that sort of mindset and be in that sort of way. I mean, I don't know what you two think or whether you think that's a load of nonsense, but that is terrible. The home form is terrible. There's got to be something reason why.
I mean, again, I've got no stats to back this up, but I feel like the atmosphere at Spurs was probably its best I've experienced, probably under Redknapp. And Redknapp approached the games in quite a positive attacking way. And we would have 3 or 4 opportunities in probably the first 10 minutes, something like that. And I think when you start games like that, you're right, the crowd are up for it, which is why yesterday was a disappointment, because we scored that goal early on. And because we didn't really, like, the crowd didn't build on it, the players didn't build on it, and it just sort of petered out and allowed
you two didn't build on it. You were both there. That's your
between that.
You don't know that I didn't.
You don't. You just guess it. He's just trying to call us out.
I'll make this point, right? On my row, I've got a couple of guys, of the older generation, but they are just chatting constantly and always trying to start songs, etc. And we have it. So we managed to get our little section, maybe a couple of rows in front, a couple of rows behind, singing a song when nobody else in the stadium is. And I look around, give it a bit of this, and people look at you like they're at the circus and they're watching some act, like, oh right, or it's like, you know, watching, oh look at this, people creating atmosphere. And no point do they go, right, if we join in, it will get louder. It's just like, honestly, I'm so sick. And the whole thing about football tourists blaming Koreans for coming, I'm looking at a bloke of, you know, a bunch of middle-aged men staring back at me like, what is this? It's just that South Stand created as a singing, you know, section. A lot of people do not get the brief. They are there just to watch the game. And that's probably the biggest frustration. I was talking to Brent about it yesterday and what, like, Return of the Shelf are trying to do in terms of getting a singing section. But people won't want to move because people in that South Stand have got decent seats. Like, it's a good view and they like being part of. When it is a good atmosphere, that's the place to be. But they're not there to be like this die, you know, like the fucking yellow wall at Dortmund. There's nowhere near that sort of aspiration. So
maybe we need more tifos
to do it.
What do you reckon? Tifo is the answer.
Tifos do make a lot of noise, don't they? Yeah.
When we played Frankfurt, and I don't know if it's the same like at Dortmund, but they have somebody sort of choreographing there.
Yeah.
There's like a person who does that. Like I'm trying to think when last time I've been in the South Stand, and it has been like, I can remember. Do you remember when we played Man City and Nuno was in charge? And Kane didn't play. That day, it was absolutely buzzing. Obviously, because that we felt aggrieved about the whole Kane thing, but it was absolutely rocking. Yesterday,
that was the first game without lockdown. That was a cathartic thing that everyone is back in that stadium together. Seriously, I was booming out my telly. Right? Seriously, I mean, there is a stat about, and I saw it on X before, there is a stat about how many games we've lost at this new stadium now. Yeah, and if you put that into the old stadium, you have to go back to 2015 or something to when that period starts, right? We've lost a lot of games. It started with the West Ham just after we opened it, right? So you know, that's
and let's be honest, Franco's right, but win some fucking football matches and play some decent football. It'll change like that.
Let's have a quick look at the table and move on. But Franco, you're going to say something? Sorry.
No. Move on. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother with Frank's quote. This is where we are on the table. We're 6th now.
Yeah, it's all still very tight up there, though, isn't it? And the thing is, that's the frustration that a win yesterday, we would have been in second place. And I had people on the train on the way back going, this team's just bang average. We're rubbish. Loads of them are shit. Blah, blah, blah. And you think, like, we're not playing well, but comparatively, things are not that bad. It's been an all right start, hasn't it? I think the issue is that we've not played what the really difficult teams.
Yeah, that's right.
So far, so this month is going to be a real test. Or next month, sorry, November, the month coming up is going to be a real test because we've got a lot of games. We've got PSG in the mix as well, and Copenhagen, I think. So it's not, and then the Newcastle away cup game is stuck in there as well, isn't it? As well, so it's like it's a congested fixture and against some difficult teams. So we'll see where we are at the end of that.
People get frustrated because we could have possibly moved to second yesterday, but I don't know if you two agree, but I think if you're being honest. 6th or 7th is probably more realistic of what we are. I think we sort of that if I'm looking at before we'd been doing so well, we beat City and we won a few games and that. Like I'd have been like 6th or 7th. I think that's probably about right for where we are. But then obviously results go the way they are, and you can move up to second and. Yeah, that's what people get frustrated.
The thing is, in a club, there are so many moving pieces and things that change. Like I made this point as well. If you had Solanke fit, Maddison fit, Kulu fit, Son still in the team, there's goals, from all of them last. No, there are. Maddison's got double figures last year. Solanke, I think, got 16 in the end. I know some of them would have been Europa.
Oh, we'd be better. I definitely agree. Yeah.
And as much as you moan about Son would be scoring more goals than Odebear is right now. Even if you'd be getting annoyed from the rest of the time. But do you know what I mean? There's goals that have been taken out of the team. And so the same as when Ange joined and he lost Harry Kane, who was going to probably bang in 30 goals for us that season. It's like you always have to adapt to what you've got. And I think we just kind of go, well, no, we just want to carry on and do better. So to do better than last season is not particularly difficult to do better than 17th. But you say 6th or 7th, but then what do you think about cup runs and stuff like that? You wouldn't just accept 7th and then out of all the cups early, would you? You want to see us put a good effort into the Champions, at least get through this group stage first.
Yeah.
What would be a good first season for Thomas Frank? What would that be to you?
I'm not going to argue with the league positioning. I think a really good season would be to get top 4, but I think realistically an improvement and going in the right direction anywhere between 7th and up. There are still some decent seasons. But the thing is, like, everyone seems quite inconsistent. And when you start a season like that, you think, well, look, if we can put a run of games together, then we can get into that Champions League. Do other teams look better than us at the moment? Who, maybe not. But then with the added complication of the Champions League, again, we got a pretty favourable draw against teams that we should, if we play as well as we can, we should easily get through this, and we shouldn't probably even have the extra game. We might even be able to get in that top 8 or whatever it is. And then the other cups, the other cups are the other cups. Newcastle away is not an easy draw for the next round. And obviously the FA Cup doesn't start for quite a while, so I don't really include those. But we need to get through this group stage of the Champions League, and then if we can get in that top 5, 6, then good. See if we can guarantee European football next season again, decent season.
I totally agree. And today's dismay and him mocking me, I'm like, because of how bad we were, I think get back in the European places. And even if that's the Conference League, you get the Conference League and you go in the next season and you go and say, let's win this trophy like Chelsea and West Ham have done. It's another pot. Yeah, it's not the Premier Cup, but then you can hopefully in the earlier rounds rotate your squad a little bit more.
You could do it the whole competition for the Conference League.
But you're still in Europe and you're still winning. That's the hand you've been dealt. That you finished in the position that you've been good enough to finish in. You haven't been any better. That's
I'll tell you something tonight.
So you go in and you go to win it, and then in the league
you've been on form as well. You've been.
I just. Yeah, European football has got any.
You've been cliche-tastic tonight, Gibbo.
Any type of European football has got to be the aim.
No, I agree. Although Conference League, I do.
Don't get mate. I don't want to finish in there.
The Conference League
if we finish in there, I don't want Chelsea and West Ham going in there and winning it. Then us going in there and them like, you get in the Conference League and you can't even. Do you know what I mean? If you're in it, win it.
Oh no, I agree with that. It just sounds a bit too much like Vauxhall Conference, doesn't it? For me, it's just like.
I mean, if you're in that, there's no
As
way.
I've always
if
said,
you get in that, there's no way we should not win it.
Yeah, I agree. Or at least get to
okay.
another
As
final.
I've always said, the Conference League is the egg and spoon race of European club football. All right. So my expectation is I would like us to be through the league position back in Europa. Got no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'd love to win a domestic cup, and if we got final 8 of the Champions League, I think it would be a miracle. But I think that would be a good season. Okay. And then with our new owners, the Lewis family, they'll back the manager as far as they can in January, and a big transfer window next summer. All right.
Well, the squad does still, as we know, the squad, there's holes, isn't there? There's positions that need upgrading, and yeah, you're right. So if we can
Players
stay,
need to be sold.
Yeah, if we can stay in and amongst it, give ourselves the best opportunity. That's what we need to be doing. Yesterday was a bad result. The home form has got to improve, and you know, I don't know how we do that at the minute without better personnel. But I agree with what Franco said. I think Solanke is a big miss. I know he's not prolific, but I think he gets hold of the ball. He can run beyond. He can do what our other forwards can't do. Basically, control the ball. So.
And it's just the pressure he puts on defender as well.
Yeah.
If you've got him closing them down, you're just going to get many more mistakes. We're going to pick up the ball in that danger area a bit more, and that's the problem. It feels like with Frank's football, at the start of the game we did press, quite high up, but the intensity isn't there, and therefore we're not winning the ball in those dangerous positions as much. Certainly not yesterday, anyway. And I think Solanke's a big part of that. Kane did the same thing when he played for us as well. So it's Richarlison's just not quite at it. He'll run around, but I don't feel like he's got quite the ability to do that. No. And Moani, we don't know with Moani. We've not seen enough of him. He's a big guy, Moani. I thought he was just going to be a little bit slight and more skillful, but he's quite broad-shouldered and he's quite tall.
He's a unit.
I mean, he's going to be able to put himself about. Again, I'd like to see more of him. But that's just because I don't want to see any more of Richarlison or Tell, to be fair. But
now, speaking of European football, as we were 2 minutes ago,
what a segue! That
would have been a smooth segue, but now I have to hammer this segue in like a whatever. It's time to talk about. I'm just conscious of time. It's time for us all to show our extensive European knowledge of Monaco. Okay, so they're in Ligue 1. There you go, and they're currently in. Cinq place. That's 5, isn't it, in French? In Ligue 1. And this is the team. They drew, I think, 1-1. They sacked their manager, their coach earlier on in the season. So that with that extensive knowledge of Monaco, I'm over to Franco, who's going to tell us what his thoughts are about Monaco as a team.
Well, your table, I think, is out of date, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's because you missed the late game, so they're now in 7th place. I mean, Lens and Lille.
Are you saying it's because some teams have played 7 games in this table and other teams have played 8? Are you accusing me of?
Yeah, Monaco was 7th, correct.
They've all played 8 games now, but it's probably the time zone difference, isn't it, from Oz to here?
It's professionalism.
So,
back on the professionalism.
3 points off second, though. They're 3 points off PSG.
Yeah, look, I mean, we just look at their team. Name those. You know what I mean? Name them.
Well, we were interested. In. Is it the Koulibaly that used to play for Chelsea and was
that we've heard of?
What about Fati? I've heard of him. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce his name.
Ansu Fati, the Barcelona kid. He was at Brighton on loan, wasn't he?
Oh, that's right. We got Grumps for him, and then
Akalucci was one of the guys that we were touted for when we were looking for a number 10. Someone's put Dyer in the chat, but he's injured at the moment, isn't he? So thank God he won't be able to score against us. But
it's a shame it's not in a home. We're not playing them at home, are we? Which is a shame because then Dyer could have sat in that part of the stand that he climbed into to beat the bloke up. that time after the Norwich game. We could have sat there. For a bit of
I mean,
for a bit of atmosphere.
If we'd have really wanted to know about some of these players, we could have got someone like HG on or someone who really has an in-depth knowledge of.
That's a bit rude to our special guest tonight.
No.
You're being a bit rude because we get a guest on, and then you slag him off for the fact that he doesn't know much about the Monaco team.
We could have got someone who knows about football, but we got this bloke on instead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Franco. I didn't mean that. Bad choice of words.
It's fine.
But yeah,
I'm a one club man.
It's not a team of household names, is it, Monaco?
No, they're not.
But they gave Man City a game in the last. Did they play Man City last time out in the Champions League?
They drew against them and they lost against Club Bruges, I think it was 4-1 in their opening game, which wasn't great. But the thing is, like last year, Monaco were pretty decent. I think they were like a really good attacking team. And I've not watched. I'll be honest, I have not watched a lot of League this season, so I don't know how they started. But look, I mean, what was it? Where's your league table again?
Do you want it back again?
I think they've won 4 out of 8. They've won 4, they've drawn 2, they've lost 2, but look, 17 goals, which is the joint second highest in the league. So it's not like they can't score goals, but they've also conceded 13, which means, you know, it might be exciting. The fact they shipped 4 against Club Bruges, that's a concern, isn't it? So without the defensive rock that is Eric Dyer, then they're in trouble against us, aren't they? But again, I think it shows that if we like actually try and score goals and play some attacking football, then it might be an exciting game.
And we have quite a good away record in Europe, don't we? Has anybody got our...
Just in general at the moment we do, don't we?
We haven't
lost him forever, haven't we, in Europe, away in Europe? Something like that.
We've been doing all right, so...
We're just much better away from the stadium that we built at great expense and cost.
Yeah.
We're much better. I mean, what's the point of building a nice new stadium if we're going to be shit at it the whole time?
Well, you've got pints that fill up from the bottom, Dave, and £6 pies. What more do you want?
And the go-kart track. Don't forget that. We've got the go-kart track. Now, let's move on to... I've got no crap link for this one. But,
John's got it. Right, we lost to AZ. That was a good one.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway. That is a terrible photo, though. It's like if you saw those two in the pub, sat down there like that, you'd be like, I am avoiding these guys. What's going on?
Who looks less happy out of the two of these, Langer or Fabio Paratici?
Langer. He knows what's coming, doesn't he? Long term. Old Langer. That's why his face is like that.
Do you think that he's being levied, really? Because, you know, when you get old, when you get Vinay in, and then you get Cherrington's joining the board, and his Donna's on the way out, it looks like... do you reckon Langer's going the way of Levy? I know that, Gibbo, you're a big fan of Langer, aren't you?
No, I think let's have Franco's opinion, because people who watch this do know that I'm cynical in what I think of Langer. So, what's your opinion on it, Franco?
I mean, the few interviews I've seen, I've not really gone, oh, right, yeah, he seems like he's like top of his class at this game. Maybe that's it. He almost seems a little bit awkward, and maybe like that's it. Paratici's like the wheeler dealer businessman who's got everyone in his Rolodex, and so he's the one that's going to make the deals happen. And then maybe Langer's the one that's looking at spreadsheets, looking at people's, like in match intensity and stuff like that, and identifying players. I don't know. Do you think it causes an issue having like two people essentially doing the same job? There'll obviously be a slight separation of duties, but their key role is to identify players and get them over the line, isn't it? And I don't know whether was it all the way back to like Martin Jol, who talked about working with a director of football was sometimes causing issues. So, managers, when it's not worked out, tend to blame like the separation of duties, don't they, in terms of identifying players? But I don't know whether it genuinely is an issue. I don't know. What do you think?
There's been a few teams that had joint managers, weren't there? Didn't Liverpool do it? Was it Roy Evans and Houllier? And
how long did that last? And what happened to what happened to the
Santini? Jol was Jol initially his
Jol was a coach.
2. Jol was a coach, but Arneson wanted Jol, didn't he, to be the manager, and Levy wanted Santini. So they met like, oh well, he'll just be a coach, and then obviously what happened. But
I went to Santini's last game actually, Fulham away. We lost to Fulham. A very happy occasion that was.
All right, you both talked there for a minute and not answered my question. Come on.
I'm not sure, Matt. I think they've obviously tried to make it clear how it works, but
yeah.
I think
what with that picture.
I think Lang, like I always used to say, Lang got demoted at Villa and hung around. He got demoted. Yeah. They brought in Monchi and he stayed there. So I don't think I think he'd probably just do that at Spurs if they were like, look, we're giving someone else your job, mate. Just do your bits and pieces. I think he'd just stay. But I don't see it working as they're both working hand in hand in tandem, because they'll just have differences of opinions on the type of, who's going to have the final. Someone's got to have the final say, haven't they?
That's Vinay. Vinay would have the final say.
But is the idea of a board or a group of decision makers really that controversial decision? I know you've got players you've got these two are going to be their identifying players, and I get a feeling that Paratici will be the guy that's getting it over the line. He's probably more well connected than that.
Yeah.
But these decisions should be made by a group of people that are involved in making decisions rather than just them going off. And that includes the manager, doesn't it? Because ultimately, I don't think any signing should be made unless they're like 16 years old. I don't think any signing should be made without the manager going, yeah, I'm happy for him to join. That just makes sense to me. So these guys can go off and find them and they can progress that. And once they're told, yeah, we want this person, they can go and try and get them. But yeah, I don't see a problem with it necessarily, as long as there's a clear separation of what they're involved in. And then they should be able to talk and be like, what do you think of this player? Then somebody else can look at it and give it a second opinion. To me, I don't really see a massive issue with it.
But I think he is involved, isn't he, Dave? Thomas Frank. If you've probably read the interviews and stuff, they're saying he's involved, and there is a team that do that. So
that's what I think. It's a committee.
That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, the idea that you've got two people, they're never going to get on, what we're going to do. I just don't think it works like that. They're all sort of professionals. Although I must say, I bet football is like a really easy place to blag it, because like identifying players, if it goes wrong, nothing ever seems to really happen, does it? Like we've signed some utter shite over the seasons, but nobody goes, all right, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. They just go, oh, well, didn't work out. So it's like, who knows if Lang's any good? Who knows if Paratici's really any good, or whether he's just like dodgy as?
They just all use the Football Manager database now.
Exactly. I lived off that for years.
Like all these like we said, we've got this new guy coming in with his data-driven approach. I think they all use the same. They all use the same sort of like database. Tech. So they're all looking at the same players anyway. It's not like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But look, I think a lot of people think that Paratici is like it's the coming back of the Messiah. I'm very 50. I've always been very 50-50 on Paratici.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Franco said though, Dave. Sorry, mate. But I think he works on a higher. He's a higher operator than Lang. That's the impression I get.
In Serie A, yeah.
Well, I just think I
think our top showbiz friend in Brazil thinks Paratici's just got his Serie A file of facts, and that's about it. That's his opinion.
But there is a bit of that, isn't there, with all of these scouts, wherever they work, that's where they get an in-depth knowledge of. About I don't know. I'm just looking back at we used to get a load of French players when we had Comely in, didn't we? I suppose. Yeah. I know we got players from elsewhere as well, but like I'm sure like George or like Kevin and Kudu, whoever it was.
Yeah, George, Kevin and Kudu, Clinton and G.
I think that was Hitchin, wasn't it? Or was it?
Mitchell? No.
Kamoli,
they were before those days, surely. But I don't know. You're always going to get some of these players that are sort of seen as sort of potential. And I think what we really need to do from now on is be looking at some real quality replacements for these players. You know, what's the point in spending 30 million on Odegaard? It's not pocket change, is it? It's quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
You spend a bit more and you're getting somebody that's actually got experience and is good. Rather than someone that's
paid the salary, and you need to pay the salary as well. Everyone talks about the money you spend on the thing.
100%
the salary. Yeah, because no one was crying out for Burnley's winger 2 summers ago, were they? Were you? I wasn't.
There's a bit of that, but I also think like it's two ways. I don't think it's necessarily the money that attracts the player, but I think if you're going to Man City, your agent is going, they can afford to pay us 150 at least. They can afford to pay us 200 grand. Do you know what I mean? It's and then when they dealing with Levy, they were like, well, we're probably not going to get that.
nothing to do with Burnley needed to sell, didn't they? Or were prepared to sell.
Always is.
That's there is like a list of things that needs to be ticked off in order to make a last minute signing, and normally it's like the club needs to get rid of a player, isn't it? Is one of them.
That can't happen no more, can it? You know, that's like Odebear, let's say. Richarlison, really. That weren't major scout. It wasn't a major scouting. Oh, this is the bloke. We found him. He'll fit in perfectly. It's my mate Ken Wright needs some money.
Look at that.
Madison probably has worked out. That
Don't.
was the same. And Boris Johnson, that's why we went for him. They all their clubs needed the money.
Yeah.
Well, and we gave them loads.
I don't think Solanke there. I don't think they didn't need the money for Solanke Bournemouth, did they? They just had a price, and that was the guy. That weirdly enough, that was the guy we actually, not weirdly enough, but that was the guy we actually wanted at the time, wasn't it? Apparently, that was
him or Tony. Tony went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Ivan Tony, but
all right, very, very quickly because we've got to wrap this up. Reasons to be cheerful. We always end on a positive. It's a grumpy old Spurs. We're going to end on a positive note. Reasons to be cheerful. Franco.
Well, I'm going to allude back to what I said about our team being young and about the manager coming in and trying to stabilise things. I think once he feels like he's done that, here's a positive slant on maybe what he's thinking is that we'll start to be more expressive, cohesive attacking unit as the season progresses. And as we need to, we warm up, you know, we'll see a great Champions League run. We'll start going up the table in the league. And, you know, the main thing is there's always another game. When you lose a game like you do against Villa, at least you've only got to wait 2 days. And then on Wednesday, we've got a chance to get back in it. So there you go. We'll be cheering on Wednesday night.
Cliche-tastic. One last cliche from you.
I'll try and come up with one. But yeah, I think just the fact that, you know, we might not be doing very well at home, but at least we are performing a lot better away from home. So if you can sort that home form out, we're on the right track. And transfer windows coming up. Hopefully Solanke is coming back to fitness. Hopefully Kulusevski will some point this year. But yeah, you know, after yesterday, I find it difficult to find any reasons to be cheerful. But you know, it is what it is. Let's have yours then, Dave. Come on, you're
the fact that you two were in the stadium on the weekend together, and I think is a positive thing for the atmosphere going forward. Yeah. In your hands, with Franco starting the chants, Gibbo's there with his son, Ralph is barking in the background before. Mate, you two, it's in your hands. You've appeared on the hands. Franco, he's gone up the world. He's appeared on the panel with Ricky and his black leather jacket.
Yeah.
Who else is on that panel?
I'll probably have to charge next time I come on here, by the way. I hope you realise.
If you charge as much as what's his face, the old the transfer guru, what's his name?
Romano.
Well, he charges more than a lawyer.
He's in the mud after the last transfer window for Fabrizio. He's in
great money. If you can get paid more than a lawyer to come and make stuff up for 15 minutes, wouldn't you do it?
Like a lawyer, you mean? Sorry. Anyway,
100%. Anyway, we've been going for an hour and 5 minutes. Franco, thank you for your time. You've been an excellent guest.
No problems. You've been excellent hosts.
No, well, mate. You
despite Gibbo being rude to you, Franco.
Yeah, Bob being rude to you, leaving the music on when I started the show. You know, we can keep going talking over people, but yeah, thanks very much, mate. Hopefully you can come on again at some point, Franco. That'd be great.
Of course.
Hopefully after a better result. But yeah, Dave, everything all right with you? Cheers for all your work, mate. Your slides. I know you love doing
even
that.
The non-up-to-date, even the not up-to-date Liga.
Yeah. Or the person strolling behind you in the background, mate.
Oh, I like those socks.
You're just live on YouTube, mate. Well, that's just beautiful.
I think on that note, we can all say, come on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Go on.